The NBA is back. The season starts in less than a week, and I had to get you my standings predictions. So buckle up, we have a lot to talk about, but most importantly, drop your thoughts in the comment section below, and I get back to every single one. This is the best built roster around Trae Young in his entire career, but this season we'll rely on three questions in Atlanta. Can you stay healthy? Can you put it all together? And can Trae Young lead a championship team? I don't know about that last part. I think he can lead a very good team, but a championship team, I'm not sure. But I will say this, they have a great coach. They have a lot of versatility on the roster. I do think that they put it all together in the regular season, and I think they can come away with a home court spot. There's a lot of roster turnaround in Boston, as we all know. No Drew Holiday, no Kristaps, no Jason Tatum, although it looks like he may return to the court this season. This roster this year, it's all about a lot of players stepping up into bigger roles and proving themselves in different regards. Whether if it's Peyton Pritchard or whether if it's Jaylen Brown, this roster should be fun for that reason alone because they're all playing for themselves, but they need to be playing together and winning at a high level. But with Joe Mazzulla at the helm, I do believe that this Boston team can still be a top 4, top 5 seed. That wouldn't shock me. But ultimately, when I stack them up against other teams in the Eastern Conference, I have Boston making the play-in as a top seed, but ultimately losing both games and falling out. Brooklyn's in the midst of a rebuild. They drafted 5 first-round rookies. They traded for Michael Porter Jr. They're still dealing with Cam Thomas and his situation off the court. But this is a team that it's not about the win-loss column. It is about identifying those key building blocks for the future. And you're going to hear me talk a lot about building blocks in today's video. But can this front office and coaching staff identify those key couple of guys that they can build with for years to come? That's the big question. But ultimately, they're going to be the 15th seed and probably the worst team in the NBA this season. When LaMelo Ball plays, this Charlotte Hornets team is fun. They're competitive. They win some games that they're not supposed to win, but it just seems like it's the same story with Charlotte. They're a fun team in the first month and a half of the season, and then injuries upon injuries pile up and ultimately derail the season. I don't see why that wouldn't change this year. I do think Brandon Miller can be in the most improved player conversations as far as awards at the end of the season. But this is a team that over the stretch of 82 games, they're not going to be very good, and I have them finishing as the 13th seed. The Chicago Bulls were one of the most entertaining teams to watch at the tail end of last season, mainly because of the pace of play, but really the emergence of Matas Buzelis and Josh Giddey. They led the way, and of course Kobe White might be the most underrated player in the league. But if we're assuming full health around the entire NBA and no injuries, because I don't like to predict those, I just think that they're too young and they're not one of the stronger rosters, so that's why I have them at the 12th seed. My Cleveland Cavaliers are healthy this season and they changed their mentality. They should run through the Eastern Conference and ultimately win their Larry O'Brien trophy. But this is a team that has a lot of injury concerns coming into the season. Darius Garland, Max Strus, and Jared Allen are all expected to miss some time. And of course, you're working in guys like Lonzo Ball. This team can be solid, but there's going to be a lot on the shoulders of Donovan Mitchell and Evan Mobley, and this is a team that I think will be a great regular season team. But come playoff time, you could be the 1 seed, 2 seed, 3 seed. If you don't change your mentality, you're not going to make it any farther than you have in years prior. And as a Cavaliers fan, again, I think we're going to have the same fate. 2 seed because they're going to be great in the regular season. The Detroit Pistons shocked the world last season. They bring in JB Bickerstaff, and they took the Knicks to a tough 6-game first-round series that had a lot of close games at the end of it. But you lost Malik Beasley and Tim Hardaway this offseason. Your 2 best shooters, and you haven't really replaced them. So I'm worried about the spacing coming into the season with Tobias Harris really as your best outside threat. But still, Cade Cunningham is a rising star in today's game, a top 25 player. The defense is there with this roster. I think Asar Thompson takes another step in his game as he's being overlooked by the general media. But if they can trade for a shooter, let's say Lauri Markkanen, like I predicted in my hot takes video, I think they can not only win a playoff series against Atlanta, but they can go to the Eastern Conference Finals, upsetting one of the big dogs along the way. There's no Tyrese Halliburton or Miles Turner for the Pacers this season. So it's a big developmental season for guys like Nembhard, Nesmith, and even Ben Mathurin to take us a bigger step up and accept a bigger role in this offense on a nightly basis. This is a team that has great chemistry, great coaching, and I'm excited to see who can step into that bigger role and flourish. Ultimately, I think this is a team that will start slow, but make the play-in and win enough games to make the playoffs as the 8th seed, knocking Boston out. Indiana goes in, so it's a bit of a sweet spot there for Indiana fans, despite not having the same contending mindset that they would have liked to carry over from last year. It should be a tough year for the Miami Heat, and that's upsetting. This is a team that I think is going to miss the play-in, finishing 11th in the conference, but I can easily see them finishing inside the play-in some way, shape, or form. However, this is a team that has maybe the best coach in the game. Eric Spoelstra should use his magic yet again this year. They have a lot of great veterans outside of Tyler Hero and Bam Adebayo. Guys like Andrew Wiggins, Khalil Ware, now technically a veteran, but Norman Powell most notably, who they just added in the offseason. I think this is a team that, without that surefire go-to guy late in games, will struggle not only late game situations, but they'll also struggle in higher scoring games against top-tier opponents. So that's the reason why I have the Miami Heat missing the play-in. They just lack that top guy, but being competitive this year will put them in a great position for one of these top guys to want to go Miami in just a year's time. One of those guys could be Giannis Antetokounmpo, but for today's video, we're going to focus on just Giannis with the Bucks. This is the team that I have making the 6th seed strictly based on Giannis being the second best player in the world. There's so many questions around Giannis. There's no more Damian Lillard. They added Miles Turner, but he's not really the defender he used to be. I just don't really believe in this roster. There's too many holes, too many questions, but based on Giannis being Giannis, they will be the 6th seed. Now, to me, the Knicks are the most complete team in the Eastern Conference and might be one of the top 3 most complete rosters in the entire association. Mike Brown took over as their head coach, and not only is he going to instill new systems on both ends of the court, but he's also going to give these guys rest, these star players rest, throughout the entire season. He's not going to run them into the dirt like Tom Thibodeau. So guys like Brunson and Cat and Josh Hart, OG Anunoby, these are guys are going to have fresher legs going into these tough playoff series where they've been so close to making the finals the last couple of years. With some extra rest, they might actually be able to get over the hump. So again, this is a team that I like all the changes that they made. I think the continuity coming back will be stronger than ever. And unlike the Cavaliers, the Knicks have that mentality that it takes to go and win the Eastern Conference. So for the first time in 25 years, the Knicks will be the 1 seed and make the NBA Finals. You either love or you hate the Orlando Magic, and I'm on the side that I love this team. They're finally healthy for one. You bring back Jalen Suggs, who is a huge backcourt defender. He can take a lot of the big assignments against other Eastern Conference opponents throughout the entire season. But also, you also traded for Desmond Bane, a guy that fills a lot of voids on the outside, as far as being a facilitator, as being that outside threat, that go-to shooter from the perimeter that this team has desperately missed. I think Orlando, with their defensive mentality, makes this big jump and is a top 3 seed in the East. And again, I think Paolo might be a dark horse MVP candidate at the end of the season. Let's get this out of the way. Joel Embiid is not going to play over 50 games this season. So with that mindset, can Tyrese Maxey and the company keep this team afloat? Can they stay in the play-in picture? I think if everybody around Embiid stays healthy, they can do it with Nick Nurse running the show. I got Philly finishing as the 10th seed in the East. If Embiid is healthy, of course, it's a different picture, but we can't count on that at this point. So they're the 10th seed with the potential to be much higher. Now, every year, there's one surprise team that you look at them and, hey, you're saying they're fun. I want to root for them, but also, how the hell did they make it to the point where they're in the playoffs? I think this year it is the Toronto Raptors in the Eastern Conference. They have Coach Darko Rajakovic, who has a lot of questions on his hands. He has 3 similar wings that he has to work with Scotty Barnes, RJ Barrett, and Brandon Ingram, all having similar styles of play. You don't have a lot of perimeter shooting on this team. I think the easy fix is to move RJ Barrett to the bench, have Grady Dick move into the starting lineup, and potentially pick up a guy like Malik Beasley. That could really open up this offense. But Darko, I believe in him as a coach, and I think he can prove his worth in the league this season with this very young and talented and hungry Toronto Raptors team. I think they shock the world, make the play-in, and they are the 7th seed going into the playoffs. Just like Brooklyn, the Washington Wizards are all about the future. They have a lot of young pieces, but who can step up and step out? Who can solidify themselves as a building block for the fans and for the organization for years to come? That's the big question. Is it Cam Whitmore? Is it Alex Sarr? Is it both of them? For Washington fans, I hope you get all of them. Let's move to the West with the Dallas Mavericks. Despite the Luka Doncic era being over, this is one of the deepest rosters in the league and one of the best coached rosters in the league. Plus, the Cooper Flag era has begun as he fell into their laps after they made a horrific trade. but it could all work out here in Dallas. Anthony Davis is going to anchor this team with a very solid roster around him. The question with this roster is, well, two things. How quickly can Cooper Flag turn into what we know he can become? And also, is Kyrie Irving going to play this season? I think he will. I think if this team can stay afloat by the midseason mark, Kyrie will start to ramp up. And if he can catch his stride by the playoff time, they're going to be one of the scariest 8 seeds in recent memory. So I have them going into the play-in with Kyrie returning to the lineup and being the 8 seed facing the number 1 seed. And it'll be a very competitive first-round series. This is the best built roster around Nikola Jokic since they won the title a few years ago. They got rid of Michael Porter Jr. and his toxic behavior. You bring in Cam Johnson, Jonas Valanciunas, and Bruce Brown. All of these guys are great fits around Nikola Jokic, and this means Nikola Jokic doesn't have to play 45 minutes a night for this team to win a meaningless regular season game. They nearly knocked off the Thunder in the second round last year with a much worse roster. So now that Jokic has more help and a better constructed roster, there's no reason to believe that if Jokic can get the rest that he needs throughout the regular season, that they can go back to the NBA Finals and win it for the second time in just a few seasons. I got Denver as the 2 seed, and they might come out and win it. Now, the oldest team in the league by a wide margin is the Golden State Warriors. But man, let me tell you, this system is flawless. It doesn't matter who's in this system. Me and you can hop on the court with Steve Kerr and Steph Curry, and we're going to look like $1 million. But for the Warriors, you need Steph Curry to stay healthy. If he goes down at any point in the season, or even in the postseason, we might have the same fate as the last postseason where Miami Jimmy was no longer that version of himself, and he was kind of, you couldn't really see he was on the court. Jimmy needs to step up if Steph Curry goes down at any point in the season. But again, if Steph's healthy, they can beat anybody on any given night. I think they hang around. I think the system pulls them through, and they are the 7th seed to take on the Nuggets in the first round, who balled out when called upon the second half of last season. But oh yeah, the biggest story of the Houston Rockets, they traded for Kevin Durant for a young team that was the 2 seed last year to have an all-star big in Alperen Sengun, and now you add Kevin Durant to fill all the holes you had of closing games and to be your leading scorer. This is a complete team. They have the defensive mentality of Ime Udoka, a pretty good coach, by the way, as well. But again, they have the defense on all ends of the court. They have their closer. They have an all-star big man. I think the Rockets put it all together, and despite no Fred VanVleet, they're the 3 seed in my eyes. Now, the LA Clippers are a veteran squad. They have Chris Paul coming back into the town. You have James Harden, Bradley Beal, Ivica Zubac coming off of a career season, John Collins, and of course, Kawhi Leonard. They are experienced. They know what it takes to win, and Ty Lue is still a top coach in the NBA. Age is a factor, and you worry about the durability of these guys throughout the length of the season, but I think if they just put their egos aside, put their numbers aside, and manage their bodies well enough throughout the season, they will be a scary team come the playoff time. And if my standings are going to be 100% accurate, they're going to take on Houston in the first round, man. So veteran team versus a younger team, I'm excited for that, man. Hopefully that comes true. Let's go across town to the LA Lakers, and year 2 of Luka and LeBron is at a bit of a halt, a bit of a standstill, if you will, because LeBron's going to miss some time at the beginning of the season for the first time in 23 seasons. It is crazy to think that LeBron was drafted a few months after I was born, and he's still out here. He's still dominating, and he's still getting under media's nerves with that Hennessy ad. That was a bit of an experience. But once LeBron is back, this is a roster that has a motivated Luka Doncic, a Austin Reeves that should take a step up this season, a well-built roster with a lot of depth, and a solid head coach. I think when healthy, this team can beat anyone, but you need to be healthy in the right moments, and you need to put it all together. I got the Lakers at the 5. The alphabetical order system finally is allowing us to talk about teams on the right side of the screen, the play-in losers and the lottery. And there's always a team every year that disappoints us compared to preseason expectations. I think Memphis will be the team this year just like they were last year. They traded away Desmond Bane, and that was smart long-term as far as financial situations and just switching up the roster, but you didn't really replace them, and that kind of hurts your roster right now. So John Morant and Jaren Jackson are going to have more on their shoulders than ever. And I like Santi Aldama. He had a great Eurobasket run this past summer, but is he a number 3 option on a competitive Western Conference team this year? I'm not sure. So I think Memphis struggles. I think this year is just kind of about, surviving and regrouping and maybe capitalizing on some injuries, making the play in that way. But ultimately, I'm not banking on injuries. They're the 11 to me. Now, this could be the MVP level season from Anthony Edwards that we've all been wanting, and really the NBA media has been wanting for some time. But after two straight trips to the Western Conference Finals, it's the third time the charm. Can Anthony Edwards and this hungry roster, can they finally get over the hump? I mean, again, this roster is basically the same. They're experienced. They have cohesion. They have a great coaching staff, though they might have some pressure on the coaches this season. But the question is whether, the third time is the charm, like I mentioned. And I think Anthony Edwards is an MVP level player, and I got him as a 4 seed yet again. Now, we hear this every preseason, but Zion looks great. He's lost a bunch of weight, and he should come in and dominate for a full 82-game season, right? Wrong. This is a guy that is really just going to disappoint us yet again, right? I don't expect him to play over 50 games. I do want to say I'm excited for DeJounte Murray to return to the court. That could open up this offense and defense, really. This might be one of the best defensive teams in the league with Trey Murphy, Herb Jones, and DeJounte Murray. Yves Messi should maybe take a step up this year, but really, I think they're going to struggle early. The New Orleans Pelicans, they might even panic and blow it up at the trade deadline, whether if that's Zion or one of these wings. Hopefully, it's Trey Murphy to my Cleveland Cavaliers, but I think they'll panic, they'll trade some people, and ultimately they're going to be the 14th seed in the Western Conference. Now, the reigning, defending youngest NBA champions in NBA history, the Oklahoma City Thunder. They shocked the league last year, finally made that jump, and Shai Gilgeous put together one of the best individual campaigns we have ever seen. He might be the best player in the world right now, and I can understand that argument, but no team has gone back-to-back as far as winning the championship in nearly a decade. Right? We've had different champions in the last 9 seasons. The Thunder, being as young as they are, being as cohesive as they are, and as well coached. I think if there's any team to break the mold, it has to be the Thunder. They are the best built team in basketball. Again, they have young legs, and they're hungry, man, to continue to prove these doubters wrong. I got them as the 1 seed. Do I have them winning the finals? You'll have to wait till next week. But I think they are the number 1 seed, and I think they know that home court is going to be huge if they want to make another run. Kevin Durant era is finally done. There's no more Chris Paul, Kevin Durant, DeAndre Ayton. It is now back to just being the Devin Booker show with a couple of side pieces that you could be excited about. They added guys like Dylan Brooks and Jalen Green, which could be solid additions, but ultimately this is going to be a team that it's going to be a reset year. Expect some fun moments, expect some high-scoring games from the 2 guys on your screen, but I think they're going to be a team that is not great in the win-loss column. They're going to be the 13th seed to me in the Western Conference. Now, last year, Portland found their building block in Denny Abdia, a guy that plays like a mini Luka Doncic type of creator and really score there for the Trailblazers offense. But now it's just about who's going to join him long term. Who is that second and maybe third building block? Is it Shaedon Sharpe, Scoot Henderson, Donovan Clingan, their second-year big man? One of these guys needs to step up and solidify themselves for this fan base and organization going forward. But again, this is the year where I think it's going to be a real developmental, game for this front office. And I think Portland, as a result, being as young as they are, will finish 12th in the conference. But I wouldn't be shocked if they make the play-in. Only the Sacramento Kings front office believes they're still contenders. With Zach LaVine, DeMar DeRozan, and Domantas Sabonis, it is a nice trio, but in a loaded Western Conference, you don't stand a chance. In the East, this is a team where I think we're talking about as a top 3 seed. But with Keegan Murray, with the rookie they brought in, and his name's slipping my mind, but he's an experienced guy, could be a dark horse rookie of the year guy. This is a Sacramento Kings that has a lot of nice pieces, but as far as competing, they're never going to do that. They're not good enough, and they're going to end up right in the play-in picture yet again, stuck in the middle, and probably losing their first play-in game. Now, despite playing only a little over 100 career games, Victor Wembanyama might be one of the greatest impact defenders this game has ever seen. At 7'5", which, by the way, he grew this offseason, it just doesn't make sense to see what he does on a nightly basis. It looks like he's added strength, he's added technique and scoring ability to his game, working with Hakeem Olajuwon this offseason. He's going to be special, right? We know this about Wemby. But when you add in the fact that De'Aaron Fox is coming off an injury, you have Stephon Castle looking to take a next step in his game. It's such a young and fun core. I think they can make some noise. I think they're ready to take a leap. I think they are the 9th seed in the Western Conference, and Wemby, being on the lowest seed to ever do so, will take home the Defensive Player of the Year. And finally, the Utah Jazz. They're young, they're rebuilding, and they're clearly focused on the future. There's talented pieces on this roster, but ultimately, if you have a lot of these veterans that can bring you draft capital, why not capitalize on that? I think if you trade Lauri Markkanen, who you did recently extend, to let's say the Detroit Pistons, maybe get a first or two first round picks out of the Detroit Pistons, that could be huge for both sides of that trade. But for the Jazz, you just don't stack up across this loaded Western Conference. You're at 15. Here is the tail of the tape. On the left side, you have the East. In the middle, you have the West. This is how I see the playoff picture standing after the play-in, and of course going into the official playoffs. In the East, of course, we have a lot of fun first-round matchups like New York and Indiana. They met last year. Could they, they'll be able to rekindle that rivalry, even though Tyrese Halliburton it won't be playing. You have the Cavs in Toronto. Cleveland, it's not really a rivalry, but the Cavs never seem to beat Toronto. At least as a Cavs fan, it always feels like that. Orlando and Milwaukee. Orlando, great regular season, but can you take down the second best player in the world? That's going to be a fun series. And of course, Atlanta, Detroit, who, there's a lot of questions around those teams, but I do know that they have 2 point guards that could be playing at MVP levels by the times those two teams meet. Now, in the Western Conference, we have the Thunder against the Dallas Mavericks. Of course, loaded Mavericks roster with Kyrie returning to the mix. Could be fun. Golden State and Denver, they've met in years prior. Houston and the Clippers, young versus old. Also, Harden returns to Houston. And then Minnesota and the Lakers. How many times have Minnesota met against Luka Doncic and or LeBron James? They get to rekindle that rivalry yet again. Here is the play-in losers and the lottery teams. You see them on your screen. I'm not going to read them out to you because I'm kind of losing my voice, to be honest with you. But episode 323, and this is the most important part of the podcast. If you made it to this point, you did at least a little bit. Go down below. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section. I love to get down there and interact with you guys. But also, when you're down there, hit that big red subscribe button. Again, helps us get to 18,000 subscribers, and we can't get there without you guys. But hey,